MLS Aces podcast. This is your host, Tom Sweezy, and we're back with another team preview heading into the 2023 season, which is just right around the corner at this point. Joining with me today to talk about the Philadelphia Union, which I'm a little upset it's taken this long to get to the Philadelphia Union in my recordings, but I'm excited to talk about them. Jason Weintraub, you've seen his work over on USL, CBS, The Howler, and you've seen his gambling takes on Twitter as well. Jason, how are you, man? It's good to have you.
The Russians haven't got me yet. I'm still alive.
Well, I'm glad you're here. We're not talking gambling, but I have to say I've taken, at least last season MLS stuff, I've taken some of the bets you've thrown out there. They've paid off. So you know what you're talking about.
Well,
so
glad I could help. And I'm happy to be here too. I'm finally. I was at MLS Cup and watched that heartbreak in person. So I refuse to watch highlights and everything, but I'm at least able to start getting a little excited for the season. So it's good to be here.
Well, good thing with Apple TV, you can watch those highlights now. But you mentioned it, right? Philadelphia Union last year was an amazing run, first in the Eastern Conference. The playoffs, finished how they did. You guys got your revenge on my NYCFC, making it to MLS Cup, and then 3-3 PKs, you lose. LAFC becomes MLS Cup champions. It's just the story of the Philadelphia Union and their history is just finishing second in competitions.
Thanks for the reminder.
Yeah. I had to throw it in a little bit.
I've been to 3 U.S. Open Cup finals and an MLS Cup final, traveled for all of them, all the same results. So maybe it's me. Maybe I'm the issue. We'll find out this year.
You have to stay in Hawaii, okay? No more traveling for you. But let's talk a little bit about the off season. So it's been a pretty, I want to say quiet off season just because of the quantity of moves haven't been there, but the quality of moves have been there, and I definitely want to give some chat to that. But on the out, Corey Burke, he went to the New York Red Bulls. Paxton Aronson, obviously his big sale to the Bundesliga. Matt Freese coming to NYCFC. I'm very happy about that one, so I'll take that one off your hands. And Cole Turner was another departure from you guys, but no offense to Cole. I think just kind of more of a depth piece for you guys last year more than anything else. On the ins, though, Andres Pereira from Orlando City, Damian Lowe from Inter Miami, Joaquin Torres from CF Montreal, and then, bringing back Joe Bendick, which now is major now that Freeze is on NYCFC. So let's talk a little bit about kind of how the offseason's gone in your eyes underneath Jim Curtin and this front office. You liking it? Because as a non-Union fan, I'm liking it for you guys.
Yeah, if it ain't fixed, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? And it's one of those things to where I think the depth that we needed. So when you look at Pereira coming in, we definitely need midfield depth, especially as people keep poking around for Martinez. That was important. Bringing Lowe in too on defensive side. That's the one I'm most concerned about because Glesnes, I have a feeling, is going to be poked at as well this year and going to be trying to get pride from us. And that is the one area where I'm like, there's not that much depth there. Yeah. And so as well as striker, which we did with Torres, which is an interesting one because I'm going to look at him more as like a flexible, versatile kind of a sub, maybe like reminiscence. There can only be one El Seno, but maybe some reminiscence of an El Seno, right? Like somebody who can come in and change the game up, play on the sides or play on the wing, play as a number 10 if for whatever reason Gazdag is gassed and, go from there. Or maybe, even that striker. One of the things that was interesting I saw Curtin say was that they were experimenting with formation changes and everything. And so maybe, it does go to a single striker, or maybe they, stick to double. Who knows what's going to happen? But just looking at based off of the offseason, acquisitions, I'm happy with them for sure. And I think debt was a big priority this offseason. The thing I'm a little worried about is, like I mentioned earlier, Martinez and Glesnes kind of being pried at already. A lot of talk from the Turkish league teams are trying to get both of them, and so that's one of the things that's going to be interesting to watch.
Look, for sure, when you guys are top of the league, when you guys are selling all these youngsters, I think, teams are going to be prying around to see what other talent you have on the roster, right? So it only makes sense that, to me, Jose Martinez is the best D mid in Major League Soccer at this point. 2023, and it makes sense that teams are looking for maybe a move for him over to Europe. A Glesnes, even a Jack Elliott, I feel like could get a shot over in Europe. I rate Glesnes higher than Elliott, but Elliott's still very damn good in his own right. But let's start with that defense, right? Because I'll get even more specific. Let's start with the center backs, because I think that, like you said before, if anything was the weak spot for the Philadelphia Union in 2022, was that it was really Elliott, Glesnes, and that was it. I think Brandon Craig played like 3 minutes or something.
That's all we needed. But it's one of those things where if one of them go down, then it gets questionable. So
exactly.
Yeah, I know I've heard hurt and kind of. I mean, there's been speculation between fans of Union doing 3 in the back this year. And that probably is a lot with maybe not having the luxury of having a bunch of center back depth. And so that's something where it's like, okay, I can see that kind of putting more central defensive midfielders out there. We have Leon, we have Old Man. So our Old Man captain Bedoya. And so I can see a little bit of rotation there. And because that is probably the biggest depth, like focusing in that area. Obviously we just brought in Pereira, so that's another one who can be back there and flexible within that midfield. So I would say our midfield is probably our deepest depth. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Jim kind of change up the formation to reflect that, to maybe not put so much pressure on Glesnes and Jack. And kind of have them have a little bit more support in front of them.
I mean, look, Jim Curtin is, arguably the best manager in the league. He understands you have to shift to win. He understands, I'm sure, also that there's a lot of games on the Philadelphia Union schedule this year between CCL, between MLS regular season play, Open Cup, and now this expanded month-long Leagues Cup play, right? You guys are going to have to play different formations. Every team's going to have to play different formations. And that's going to mean a lot of these youngsters that you guys have, like maybe, going back to the center backs, a Brandon Craig might have to get a run in the Open Cup to give some minutes off of the legs of a Glesnes and Elliott, whatever it may be, right? So it's going to be interesting to see how teams adapt. And we can kind of jump up to that midfield since you mentioned them. There's a ton of depth here. And I think every other team in Major League Soccer should be jealous about the depth that you guys have. You literally have like a 1 and 2 at every single position, an A team, a B team. To me, it looks like the starting midfield, if everyone's healthy, is similar to what we saw last year of a Gazdag, a Flack, a Martinez, and a Bedoya. But you still have, whether you see a Joaquin Torres as that backup 10 to Gazdag, maybe Quinn Sullivan there. Still, either way, whatever, still great. Pereira, McGlynn, and then I know Jesus Bueno and Richard Odata. I don't think he got a ton of run last year, even with the second team. But there is a lot of depth here that I feel like you guys can plug and play pieces, and especially if maybe knock on wood, 1 or 2 injuries do happen, you have quality talent to kind of beef that up in the midfield.
Yep, 1,000% agree. I think, like you said, that's what I'm most happy about is the midfield and the versatility of players in the midfield as well. I think a couple of those guys you mentioned are 2 ways, so they can play in that more of a defensive role, or they can go on the attack. I think if anybody this year is going to have their breakout year, it would be McGlynn. He got some big minutes last year, and some was better than the other. I know, it was a big moment for him to be playing in those playoffs and, in cups. And so, but for him to have already gotten that experience and got it out of the system, I think this is his time where if he's going to shine, the way the Aaronsons did, then this is going to be his year to really do that, especially with being able to have the flux of different midfielders where you can kind of put it in a different formation based off of what you need. So if you're playing a faster team and you want to focus more on possession, you can do that. If you're focusing more on countering and you want to take over in speed, like you can do that as well. So definitely the midfield is one, and the homegrowns, right? That's what you talk about. Even with what you said, Quinn, you got Jeremy in the midfield as well. And so it's one of those things to where, I think that's the part where I'm not worried about. It's the other 2 sides with the defense and the attacking, which starting wise, I'm not worried about at all. It's kind of that depth, trying to make up for the Corey Burke departure, right? One of those, like, who is that super sub now striker that we have come in? I don't know why we love giving away our super subs to rivals. Like, we wanted to give Santos to Cincinnati. Now we're giving Burke to Red Bulls. But, I have that trust in Ernst and Jim that they've got a plan or an idea.
So let's talk about this attack a little bit, right? Because you have a Mikel Ure, you have a Julian Carranza, two guys paired with a Daniel Gazdag, who, in my eyes, could have won MVP last year, which
Talk about
is a three-headed attack that I think is pretty unmatched in Major League Soccer. Maybe you want to look at Cincinnati's three-headed attack, but I would still favor Phillies if I had to put money on one. What does this three bring that just terrorizes defenses across Major League Soccer?
Yeah, I think when you're talking about a three-headed attack, you talk about someone that can hold up as well as dangerous in the air. So, we have that. You talk about the person who can create offense, who can do the passing, who can even score. When you have that, with, like you said, who probably should have been the MVP. And then Carranza is kind of that steam horse that can take over one-on-ones on the side, make those runs for Gazdag, can do a little bit of everything. He's also scored a couple headers. And so, it's a completely balanced three-headed attack, and it allows for the offense to play in different styles. So if it's one of those things to where, we have a size advantage, okay, well, let's put the ball over the top, have that hold up play, send guys down the side. Or if it's something that where it's a speed advantage, it's like, okay, Gazdag's going to take that and send those through balls to Carranza. And so, the attack, I think, obviously, the Union last year, best defensive team in the league, but I honestly think the attack is what fueled that, because it allowed for, again, a defense that didn't have too much depth to get that rest, not be pressured the whole game. And then obviously having Andre Blake, who we want to talk about people who also could have been MVP back there, doesn't hurt either.
Yes, I mean, we can talk about it, right? Andre Blake, easily the best goalkeeper in Major League Soccer. I know Revs fans would try to argue that, but it's Andre, and it's only Andre, because I think there's only really one. Goalkeeper is not a position where you're going to get MVP votes. You're going to get people begging for you to get MVP attention. Andre Blake did that, and I think that shows you how special of a man he is, as special of a brick wall he is in net, what he brings on and off the field. Andre Blake, I think, and I'll also tie in the two fullbacks too, to make sure we cover every starting spot on this team, right? Kai Wagner and Andre Blake and Olivier Mbaizo and Nathan Harriel. And I know you guys also just today, the February 2nd, you guys just extended Matt Real. And you also have Anton Sorensen, right? Like, you guys have so much I think international experience between a Blake and an Mbaizo. You have so much homegrown experience within a Sorensen and Harriel, a Real, and then Kai Wagner, who, I mean, no offense to Kai Wagner, should not be playing in Major League Soccer. He should be playing in a top-tier league internationally.
Let's put that down, because
he's the dude. I had MVP.
I don't know why everyone wants to sleep on Kai, but I love it. You know what I mean? If he's going to keep getting the most assists of a defender every year, and he's going to keep doing what he does in corners and defending, I'm fine with people sleeping on him. But I agree. Blake, literally, if he wasn't Jamaican, he would have been in Europe years ago. And the thing with me is, every year I'm like, the beginning of seasons, I'm like, we can't keep putting Blake under this kind of pressure. He's literally like, there's too many saves. He has to make 7-8 saves games too often, yada, yada, yada. But then he comes up with it. And it's one of those things to where, goalkeepers can play until they're 40, 42, and he might be doing that his whole career. And look, we talk about Gazdag, potential MVP. And I know people, like you said, will debate about goalkeepers, but the Union don't get that 1 seed and are not where they are last year without Blake. There was about 6-7 games he single-handedly saved them points, whether it was a draw or whether it was for the win. And I'm not exaggerating, single-handedly saved them those points. And so, this has obviously been a slow buildup over the years. We had definitely owner issues. We had coaching issues. But I think the Union now are exactly where they want to be, right? Like you said, having the international experienced players with the homegrowns, with the proven veterans. And so this is the exact balance they want. And then a goalkeeper who's been there through it all, right? It was one of these things to where for Union fans, everybody was leaving. You know, Ray Gaddis, for instance, was like the last, you know, the era. And so once he left, and so I think Blake now is kind of that person who's grown with this club and has seen it all. And so, you know, for him, obviously being the goalkeeper he is means a lot, but also him being him, you know, as a player and as a person, and who plays within Philadelphia, you know, for the fans, for the team, for the players. He means a lot. Like he is a symbol of Philadelphia the same way, you know, different teams like, let's say, Joseph Martinez was for Atlanta. So difference there is Philly has a competent front office. So
now, well, let's hope that, you know, the symbol of Philadelphia, or one of the symbols of Philadelphia, and Andre Blake and a lot of other of these guys can raise another trophy in 2023.
I won't be there to see it. So well, this is the best way. I'll watch it on TV. I won't be there to jinx it anymore. I've given up on that.
Well, you're doing your club the biggest favor. Jason, do you want to plug your social media, plug anything? Please go for it, man.
Yeah, no, you can catch me on Twitter at Home Sweet Soccer. And like Tom said, any tips from MLS to Bolivian second division soccer, I got you on the over unders, got you on the exact scores. I'm here, baby. Delinquent for life.
I remember during COVID, I literally put a bet down, I think, on the Belarus top division, because it was the only league playing, and I was like, let's go, Jason.
That was it. It was their YouTube channel having 100,000 streams to when they used to probably have 2,000 max, and exactly.
Love it. Well, Jason, thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, appreciate it, man.
One MLSAces podcast. This is your host, Tom Sweezy, and today we are talking Inter Miami heading into the 2023 season with another one of these team previews. Talking Inter Miami with me is Franco Panizo from Miami Total Football Radio. Franco, 5 times later, I got it right. How are you? Thank you for joining me.
How's it going, man? Thank you for having me on again, Tom. I really appreciate the invite. Looking forward to speaking again. Another season preview for Inter Miami. The team's 4th season already. It's hard to believe this is the team's 4th season. It's gone by very, very quickly, because I moved back in 2020 from New York, where I was living, back to my hometown in South Florida at the start of 2020 to cover the team, and I can't believe we're already on season 4. It's been a very quick, very eventful few years, and I'm sure this one will be no different.
You know, it's like you guys started in the year of like COVID, and like it was such a mess, I think, the first few years. And it's not even like Inter Miami being the mess. I think just like stuff around the world and the league was a little bit of like just in a mess, especially with the MLS's back tournament and then the expanded playoffs and all of that, that I feel like Inter Miami got slighted a little bit and kind of getting their footing and grounding, but I think they found it a little bit. And let's dive into a little bit more of that right now. Obviously, in 2022, I have hope. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying. You said, you know, they started Nashville SC entered, and
true.
They came out okay. They started off.
You know, you're right. Doing better than. I'll say Miami started off better than a lot of teams, and maybe you're still in that mix, but like, I don't have like a lack of faith in Miami that I do some other teams around Major League Soccer. That's where I'll leave it, I guess. But Inter Miami in 2022 did finish in 6th place in the Eastern Conference. Obviously, you know, making the playoffs, taking on my NYCFC in the first round. It was a bad loss. It was a bad 3-0 loss. You know, tears on the field afterwards. That hurt me a little bit. I don't want to see Higuain crying, but it was, I think, for an exciting end of 2022 season, it was just maybe of an exciting finish as well. I think there was a lot of positives to build off of 2022, and let's kind of lead off of that into the 2023 offseason, where Phil Neville has another offseason, another year in charge. A lot of players on the out. Obviously, Gonzalo Higuain that I just mentioned, he has retired. Alejandro Pozuelo is still a free agent. Damian Lowe traded to the Philadelphia Union. Indiana Vasilev selected by St. Louis City in the expansion draft. Emerson Rodriguez, Jovan Jones, Breck Shea, George Acosta, a lot of these kind of lower end roster guys as well. gone. But on the in, you guys did bring Leo Campana back, which is, I think, a solid lockdown. Josef Martinez with maybe the drama of the offseason finally calming for him, and now he can just focus on soccer. Franco Negri, Nicholas Stefanelli, you brought in a Ukrainian center back. I'm not even going to try his name. I can't speak tonight, apparently, so I'm not even going to try that. But a lot of talent coming on the in to Inter Miami. Now it's time to figure out where this talent fits, and that's why we're talking to you, Franco. So just starting off super generic, super kind of big picture, how has the offseason gone in your mind?
I think it's been interesting. I think the pieces that they've moved and the pieces they've added have been, headline grabbing, of course, with Josef Martinez, but the rest of them, I think they're solid pieces that can help you make a competitive lineup and a competitive roster. Not big flashy names, but pieces that could make up for a solid core and add to the foundation that was laid in 2020 when, like you mentioned, Inter Miami made the playoffs. A season that many people, myself included, did not think that they would, given that the first of the 2 seasons, this will be the second, in which they were hamstrung by the salary cap sanctions salary budget sanctions that they were handed by from MLS for breaking the roster rules back in 2020. So they made the playoffs in 2022. They've added some interesting pieces to the roster that I think will help maybe give them a bit more balance. But I do think they're missing a difference maker. I think that, with Pozuelo not being brought back as of today, they've said they want to bring him back, but it's about trying to fit him into the jigsaw puzzle that is an MLS roster and financially as well. At one point, and I think day 1 in preseason, if I'm not mistaken, Phil Neville was asked about Pozuelo, and he kind of was like, it's like a jigsaw puzzle. You have to try to, we have Pizarro and Pozuelo, because Rodolfo Pizarro is back after a year in Mexico on loan. So it sounded, just listening to it, that clearly by him being on loan last year, that if it was up to them, if they could, they would replace Pizarro with Pozuelo. But it looks like they just can't make the numbers work as of yet. So, for me, they're missing a true difference maker. They're missing a number 10. Do they have goal scorers? Yes, Campana showed last year he can score when he's healthy. Josef Martinez has shown when he's healthy, which hasn't been too often as of late, but when he's healthy, he can score goals. So who's going to feed them, though? Who's going to nourish that front line? That's the question. I think that they're still missing that one big difference maker on the field to really, really convince me that this team can make that next jump. Because they've talked about not only wanting to be a playoff team again this year, but they want to be a team finishes in the top 4 in the Eastern Conference that gets a whole playoff game. They believe strongly in their ability to get results at Drive Pink Stadium in Fort Lauderdale because of the heat, humidity, La Familia, which is the name of the supporters groups. So they want a home playoff game. I think they need that one big piece still to really push for that.
And look, I mean, I can agree with you that I think you bring Pozuelo back, and I think that changes the complexity of what this team looks like a lot. And one of the questions I had for you is because, first of all, I've said this on like a bunch of the previews I've done so far. So for people listening or watching, they're probably tired of me saying it. But I'm an MLS nerd. I create MLS depth charts for all the teams because, again, I just like to visualize it. That's how I do it. Whatever. So I was trying to fit the pieces into a 4-3-3 because that was mainly what was played last year a lot under Phil Neville. And to me, after the Josef Martinez addition, like I couldn't do it. Is it gonna be a 4-4-2 in your mind? No.
It's going to be so what they've been working on so far in preseason, and Phil Neville was not shy about. I thought you were going to say 4-3-3. That's why. It's going to be a 4-4-2 diamond. You could call it a 3-1-2 if you'd like, but keep it simple, 4-4-2 diamond, where you have a defensive midfielder, 2 box-to-box midfielders. They're not wingers, so they're not open wide. They're more tucked in, essentially. And then you have a number 10 ahead of them, 2 strikers in front of that number 10. That's what they've used in the games that media has been able to watch. So we've been able to see 2 of the 4 preseason games so far, and they've played that diamond midfield. Phil Neville said at one point when they brought on Josef Martinez, they had a lot of striker options, and the way he said it, like, kind of alluded to the fact that they would play with 2 strikers, and then that's what we saw the following day in the preseason friendly against Vasco da Gama, the first one of 2023 for Inter Miami. So we saw a 2-striker setup. I think that's what they're going to look for or look to work on and play at the start of the season. Does it stick? Depends on the results. Depends on the performance levels. Depends if it works. I have questions about it, given the personnel, and but I was wrong last year, so I could very easily be wrong again. But I do have questions about it. So far in preseason, again, we've only been able to see 2 of 4 games.
Yeah.
Preseason, players are working themselves back to fitness. Inter Miami is still missing some key starters. From fully partaking in some of these games or partaking in significant minutes. Joseph Martinez, as a matter of fact, just played his first unofficial match with Inter Miami on Thursday against the New England Revolution in Sarasota. Only played 20 minutes. So, there's still pieces that are being integrated. There's still fitness levels that they have to reach. Nonetheless, my early sensation is that there are concerns.
Okay. And I mean, look, I think that makes sense. A lot of things to me were hinting at the fact that it was going to be a 4-4-2. Obviously, with the recent move of loaning out Emerson Rodriguez too, like Rodriguez is not a striker. He is a winger. And, there's no fit for a winger on this roster as of right now. So let's look at the attack. Let's break this down piece by piece here. Josef Martinez and Leo Campana, in my brain, if everyone's healthy, are the starting striker pairing. You bring in a guy like a Stefanelli to back him up. You have Jean Corentin from last year, who I know is he's playing all along the front line, so I know he can play striker. Ariel Lassiter, you still have Robbie Robinson on the roster, and a few homegrowns as well behind them. I understand it's a 4-4-2, but I don't think you need 6 or 7 strikers on a roster. It seems like a lot to me. But what's your makeup right now of what a Josef Leo attacking pair could be, and obviously anyone else really that could kind of play into the mix.
So if Campana can stay healthy,
yeah.
And he showed last year he can score goals in MLS. He showed that. And he showed that at a time when Inter Miami wasn't necessarily playing its best during the first half of the season. Second half of the season, he had some injuries. He fell out of the lineup, came back in, scored some goals there towards the end that were important. And that's when they had Pozuelo. But even before Pozuelo got there, even before Inter Miami improved and became much more attack-minded, he was helping to make a difference. So if he can stay healthy, you're going to get goals from Leonardo Campana. What's more, he has scored, up until this point, 4 goals in preseason in the 4 games that they've played. 2 against Florida International University, collegiate team, and then 2 on Thursday against the New England Revolution. So looks like he's come into the year in good form. Last year he had the motivation of trying to make the World Cup team. That did not happen for him. So maybe while that was a motivation, maybe it was also, like we say in Spanish, una mochila that he was carrying, like added weight on his back that, trying to worry so much about that. Now maybe he'll be able to focus just strictly on Inter Miami and trying to just give the best to them, and that maybe that helps. Maybe. Nonetheless, again, if he stays healthy, I think he's going a good year. Joseph Martinez is a bigger question mark because if you look at the numbers, and I asked him this during his introductory press conference, there's been a clearly defined before and after with regards to Joseph Martinez's career in Major League Soccer. Right, he came into the league, took the league by storm, helped Atlanta United win an MLS Cup, very competitive, one of the top teams in the league, scored goals in bunches, broke records. Then came that injury in the first game of 2020.
Yep.
Misses the entire season. Since then, the performance levels, the production have dipped. Now, granted, Atlanta United as a whole, with all their coaching changes and player personnel changes, they also dipped, and that will impact the strikers' production. But Joseph Martinez has not been the same Joseph Martinez. Just look at his numbers, and they haven't been anywhere close. Last year he scored 9 goals, so they haven't been anywhere close to what we were used to seeing from him. So we'll have to see. He's a question mark. He's an enigma. Inter Miami is hoping that they can get a very good version of Joseph Martinez. If they can get him back to that elite level, then Inter Miami can be very, very
good.
The
limit, yeah.
2023. If they can get him back to maybe 60-70% of what he was, I think that they'll take that. I think that, and especially on a non-DP deal, I think that's acceptable. I think that's very acceptable. Now, if he doesn't produce, if he has health issues, if he has locker room issues or issues with the coaches, then that's a gamble that could be. I think for me, my opinion, I think it's a gamble that could make or break the season, because a lot was talked about last year from Phil Neville and Chris Henderson and just the team about the culture being established by bringing in so many new pieces. They overhauled almost the entire roster, or a big chunk of the roster in 2022. And now you're bringing a piece that has a history of having issues in that locker room. So if he comes in and he's part of that culture and he adds to it, great. If he comes in and we see the Joseph Martinez that at times you saw in Atlanta United, then that could be an issue, and I think that could potentially derail the season. It just depends how things go in terms of wins and losses, and overall his individual output and his individual season.
Hey, winning fixes every type of poor culture there is out there, right? You win and everyone's happy and no one gives a shit. That's really what it comes down to. But let's take a step back from those forwards. Let's look at that midfield where, I do feel like there is a glaring, like we said before, a glaring Pozuelo-sized hole. But again, in my starting diamond that I kind of had mixed up, I did have Bryce Duke sitting up top of that diamond with the Jean Mota and Pizarro sitting as maybe the 2/8s, the two shuttlers there with the Gregory. It's Gregory, right? That's not Gregor. It's Gregory.
Gregory.
Okay. Just want to make sure I wasn't saying that wrong, but with the Gregory sitting at the 6, obviously you have some homegrown talent that we've seen, getting, calls into youth national teams of some major nations around the world. Some MLS veterans like Victor Ulloa. I can't speak tonight, Franco. This is just it. But the midfield, I think, like I said, does have a giant hole maybe at that 10. I like Bryce Duke, but is it Bryce Duke's season for Inter Miami?
I don't think he's the guy that they're looking at that 10 spot. So far, again, in the 2 games out of the 4 that we've seen, it's been quarantine Coco John.
Okay.
I don't think he's a 10 from what I've seen, and the little bit that I've seen of him, I just don't see him having those qualities. I think the player that they're looking at there, at least right now, and this is just what I think, not what I know, is Nicola Stefanelli, who just arrived recently.
Okay.
So we haven't seen him play that 10 role, but I think that's where they're going to put him. Because like you mentioned before, and I kind of stuck on just Leonardo Campana and Joseph Martinez when it came to the strikers in the front line. But, you mentioned on all the pieces there. And you mentioned Stefanelli, who can play up there. But he can also play in more withdrawn spots. He can play in different areas, out wide. He said this in his introductory press conference. So I'm of the belief that I think he will be the 10 to start the season. Unless they sign somebody like they get Pozuelo or somebody else between now and start the season, I think Stefanelli is the guy that they will look to to fill that role and to have that responsibility and to have that function within the group. So will it work? Will it not? I don't know. I asked him, his playing style, because during his introductory press conference, like I just mentioned, he said he's played a whole bunch of positions. So I asked him his playing style. And the way he described it in Spanish, he's Argentine.
Okay.
It sounded more to me like a forward, because he was talking about making diagonales, which are, diagonal runs in behind the defense, like over the back shoulder, and making runs into space. If you're a 10, you don't really make diagonal runs. You're not really doing that. I mean, the argument could be said that, maybe he's a 9.5. Not quite a 9, not quite a 10.
Sounds like a second striker, yeah.
So somewhere in between, and maybe that will be enough for Inter Miami. We'll see. With 2 strikers up front, I'm curious because it seems like it's going to be much more number 10 than number 9 who's playing behind 2 strikers. Maybe not. Maybe there's an interchanging of positions. There's a lot of fluidity to that front 3. It's possible. But I think he's the guy they're looking at right now. Although again, Quarantan John Coco has been getting the minutes in the games that we've seen.
To me, it kind of sounds like what Philly does with Gazdag, Carranza, and Ure. So maybe something like that where they're all it's 3 attackers. Like they're just going to let them run and do their thing and they all excel at something. So it's going to be interesting to see. But right, like the rest of this midfield, we know Gregory, we know Jean Mota, we know what they can bring. Very good talents and very good pieces in their own right. Pizarro, you mentioned a little bit before of they almost would prefer Pozuelo, but now you got Pizarro back. I don't know. What do you expect of him? Because he is such a question mark to me when I look at this roster and what to expect.
It's another question that heads, that Inter Miami has heading into the season because I don't know if he's a starter on this team.
Mm-hmm.
They started with the first group, and again, the 2 out of the 4 games we've seen.
Yeah.
But I don't know if he's a starter on this team when everyone's available, when everyone's healthy. If and when that time comes, I don't know if he's a first choice player. You just mentioned Jean Mota. He hasn't played yet. Well, maybe he played earlier today.
Yeah.
But he hasn't played it much in the first 4 games. If he's in the lineup, who do you take out? Who do you drop? I don't think you drop Gregory. I don't think you drop your 6 because Gregory is the only pure defensive midfielder in that 4-4-2 diamond. So I think he stays. Is Jean Mota going to play the 10? Don't think so.
No.
He didn't play there last year. So you probably put him as one of the two shuttlers. So who do you drop, Robert Taylor or Rodolfo Pizarro? Jean Mota's left-footed. So Pizarro's left-footed. So I think Pizarro drops. I don't know if Taylor's a great shuttler either. I don't think it's his natural position at all. I see him more as a winger myself.
Yeah.
I think that's where his better moments have come. He actually looked very, to me, lost, and even got an earful from Phil Neville on one sequence in the scrimmage against St. Louis City, which we were able to take in from the sideline. I don't think it suits his qualities, but, we'll see how that goes. But nonetheless, that's why Pizarro is an enigma. I don't think he's a guaranteed starter. Phil Neville even said, he's this was back in first week of preseason, but he said, Pizarro's back. He looks like a different player. But, he's fighting for a starting spot. And Bryce Duke's another option. You mentioned him. He's another option that can be in that midfield. So there'll be competition, healthy competition for that midfield four. As for Pizarro, I can see him just being spot starter, up and down. In a 4-4-2 diamond, I just don't know if it best suits him. We'll see. I do think that he's not quite a 10. He's not quite a winger. I do think that 8 type of role could be his role. Yeah, I think that could be good for him, and I've thought that since 2021. But in a diamond midfield, where he's going to have more defensive responsibilities, I have questions.
Very fair. I mean, I think enigma is a perfect word to describe him, especially heading into the season where we don't really know what to expect of a lot of things. But let's finish up this Inter Miami conversation with the back line. Some new faces, obviously, the Ukrainian center back, Sergei, that I'm not even going to try to go with the last name.
I think it's, and I could be wrong, I think it's Serhii Krivstov, I think.
Okay.
I'm still working on the pronunciation myself, but I know for sure it's Serhii.
Serhii. Okay, Serhii. I'm excited about him. He does bring a lot of trophies, a lot of experience. We'll see what the plus 30 center back signing does in Major League Soccer. We've seen it fail before. We've seen it succeed before. So it's not just a profile that you're immediately going to look at and be like, oh, that's good, that's bad. We'll just have to see how he adapts to the league. Obviously, he's the replacement for a Damian Lowe. I think they're hoping probably that it's an improvement from Damian Lowe. Amy Mabika, I think he was fantastic last year as a very young center back. I'm excited to kind of see his step up and his development. Obviously, DeAndre Edlin penciled in, sharpied in, starting right back on this team. And then Franco Negri, I'm assuming, is going to be the starting left back for the squad with Drake Callender and net. I mean, to me, the defense is only improved if these signings, are hit right by Chris Henderson and everyone else. What's your take on the defense?
Yeah, I agree with you. Those pieces that have been brought in are being brought in to be starters. Franco Negri at left back, Argentine, and Serhii Krivstov, a Ukrainian who has a good wealth of experience after playing at Shakhtar Donetsk, one of the biggest clubs in the Ukraine, if not the biggest. So, those are pieces that are being brought in to start and upgrade the level of that back line. Now, given the 4-4-2 diamond so far is being used and being looked at as the first choice, they're going to have to be very solid defenders one-on-one.
Yeah.
They're going to have moments in transition where they'll have to put out fires individually, and a lot of it will come down to that. Now, that being said, Phil Neville's not a coach that is shy of altering things or making adjustments if things are not working out. He has shown that during his time here in South Florida. We saw in the game against St. Louis City, it was a game of 120 minutes. They were trying to get everybody, or most players, 60 minutes to reach fitness level. So we saw, again, the 4-4-2 diamond in the first 60 minutes with the presumed starting group, and then we saw depends how you want to look at it. You could say a 3-5-2, or you could say a 5-3-2, depending on your,
what portion of the game they're in. Yeah,
I call it a 5-3-2 always. I don't, they might take more advanced positions near the midfield, but they're defensive players, right? They're fullbacks. They're not putting wingers out there to play that. If you are, then okay, then maybe we can call it a 3-5-2.
Yeah.
That's my. So we saw this 5-3-2 with the wingbacks well pushed up into the attack. And it's something we saw from Phil Neville last year, and I think it's a look that they probably are working on and that they will turn to if they need to. If they need to shore things up at the back because the 4-4-2 isn't working, or they just need to close up shop for the end of the game.
Yeah,
I think we could see that. And Kieran Gibbs, who has played left back throughout most of his career, I think he's being looked at center back as well.
Okay.
So you could see him there. You'd see Ryan Saylor. So we'll see. Ian Frey, the young teenage center back, who 2 years, unfortunately, has suffered back-to-back ACL tears that have ruled him out for the seasons. He's working his way back from injury. So, he's also a potential option at some point down the line this year. So there's options there across the back line. But what will make or break is, whether those new signings come in and really make an impact. One of them, which I imagine will be Serhi, or Serhi's the one being looked at, one of them has to become the leader, the vocal leader at the back who's going to lead his back line. DeAndre Yedlin's very experienced. And the other team has taken on a very protagonist role in that locker room. But I don't know if he's a leader outright like that. On the field, who's going to rally the troops. And, I don't see that necessarily from DeAndre Yedlin, the player. Yeah. So I think they're missing that. I think they're looking at Serhi to bring that. If he can bring that, then maybe that defense takes that next level up. And, that will improve Inter Miami's chances of making the playoffs.
Okay. Well, Franco, I've taken up too much of your time tonight with 15 takes in the beginning. And I'm going to just let you talk here because, again, clearly I'm not doing well with that tonight. But plug your podcast, plug your show, let the people know where to listen if they want to catch up on more Inter Miami news now and throughout the season.
Yeah, so you can follow all my work, on Twitter at Franco Panizo, as it shows right here. You can also read my Substack where I cover Inter Miami thoroughly. Exhaustively for the team, probably annoyingly so, because I do break news that they probably don't want out there.
Okay.
So that's at Miami Total Football, FUTBOL, .substack.com, or I forget if it's substack.miamitotalfootball.com. But either of those two, you can Google it, Miami Total Football Substack. And then there's the podcast, Miami Total Football Radio, which goes with the bilingual pronunciation as well, which we say Miami Total Football Radio. So we've got that as well. We've got a YouTube channel, Instagram account, Facebook page. We've created it all because obviously media is consumed so much differently now in 2023 than when I started as a young pup reporter, trying to make trying to make his due in 2009, and it was mostly just writing. Now it's everything. It's a whole different game now. So we've covered almost everything. We might get into visual podcasts soon, so maybe we'll have you on at some point once we get that ball rolling. I might need you for some tips, especially how not to butcher people's names. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, I'll give you one.
I'm just kidding.
Okay. No, it's all good. But Franco, seriously, thank you so much for coming on. I greatly appreciate it, and we'll catch up, talk to you soon, all that fun stuff.
Absolutely, brother. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you.